Greetings. Today I'm going to talk about 7 things that you're being lied to. And yeah, these are folks who are pretty much against me or who I'm against. But there's some truths that I have to tell that basically affects both sides. And just so you know, I got my card here because there's 7 things. I want to make sure I get them in order. And I had to hold it because I didn't have a bigger piece of paper to write everything down on. Actually, I do, but then you'd have seen the paper all the time. So hopefully this is the last time you'll see the card. So the first thing I want to talk about are gas prices. Here's the thing. The president has nothing to do with gas prices either going up or going down. The only time that can happen is if there's an embargo against gas coming from other countries, in which case we have the biggest gas reserves in the world. So at that point, the president can sign something so that we can get our gas. It's still going to go up, but that's the only time you can do it. In the case of the gas prices going up this time around, well, they were going up before Biden took office, and then they just continued going up. And you know why? Because the oil companies were loving all the money. They were loving it. You had, I think, probably every oil company in the United States had either 3 or 4 times more profit than they'd ever had before. That's nothing the president can do. The reason the president can't do that is because there's no law that allows the president to go after someone for price gouging. I don't even know if Congress can do it, although they could probably pass something, but it's never going to happen. Now, in New York State, we have time periods where there are businesses that will definitely price gouge, like when we had an ice storm some years ago, and all of a sudden, all these kerosene heaters and all of this other stuff, the prices went up tenfold, and the state attorney general's office had to crack down on those folks because, you know, you're taking advantage of the natural disaster in the state. So states can do that, presidents can't. So if you're blaming Biden for the gas prices, you're an idiot. At the same time, as gas prices are coming down, Biden looks good because prices are coming down, but once again, he's not over this. So you can't blame him when they go up. You really can't applaud him when they go down. That's just how that is. The second thing, jobs. Okay, here's the deal. When the pandemic hit, a lot of people were out of work. And then when the pandemic seemed to ease off a little bit, there's a lot of people who said, wait, I don't want to go back to the office. And truthfully, there's some companies who decided, you know what, we could save a lot of money by not going back to these bigger buildings. So the gig economy changed a little bit. And the thing is that presidents are not responsible for jobs. Almost. For instance, the report came out in July saying that we're down to our lowest unemployment level in 50 years at 3.5%. When, I'll call them, well, fake news channel, y'all know who I mean, when they were saying all this stuff before the jobs report came out, they were saying, oh, this is going to be terrible and we don't have enough jobs and whatever. And then this number came out and immediately they said, hey, that's pretty good. And then they started trying to find reasons why it was bad. It was shameful. But the thing is, the president doesn't usually have anything to do with it. You know who does? Congress. And this act that they passed, well, by this time it'll be a couple of weeks ago because I'm doing this, you know, out of order. I'm doing this ahead of time. One of the things that was passed by Congress is the semiconductor chips, where that's going to create something like 2,000 or 3,000 jobs. And okay, I'm kind of happy about that because it's probably going to end up happening right in the area that I live in. It's probably like 10 or 15 minutes away at best. And I think there's going to be something somewhere else, but the president gets to sign that. Congress passed that, mainly Democrats, as a matter of fact, only Democrats. The House had a few Republicans that did go for this, including John Katko, who represents our area. So, you know, who's helping find jobs? not the Republicans, because anything that the Democrats like, even if it's for the good of the people, they're not voting for. You know, they got burnt after they turned down voting for the soldiers getting better health care, those who've gone in other countries, those who had, you know, disabilities and all these other kind of things that have happened to them. And that didn't last but 2 days, when they then tried to say, well, no, we actually voted for it. Here it is again, because Schumer put the exact same thing out 2 days later, and they just lied to you about that. Anyway, jobs don't do, you know, it's not a president thing unless Congress passes it, and then Biden gets to sign off on it. Because, you know, when it's all said and done, that's the only time the president can either sign it, say, yes, this is good, or decide, nah, I don't care about those people, I'm going to decline it. I don't know that there's any president in history who would have said, nah, I don't want any new jobs in this country. So, there you go. Next thing, the inflation and the cost of products. Once again, this had nothing to do with Biden. It had something to do with the orange guy when he decided that we weren't going to import any products from certain countries. I'm not going to mention any countries, but that started with him. And then you had a lot of Republican governors, not a single Democratic governor, by the way, but a lot of Republican governors who decided, yeah, we're not going to let them in the borders either. And especially the guy in Texas, Abbott, where he decided he's just going to stop everything at the border and not let it come in from Mexico. And the truth is, there were a whole lot of products, a whole lot of fruit, vegetables, other goods. He just shut it down. This guy needs to go. I mean, Texas is really getting clobbered because of his stupidity and some of the stuff this guy is doing. But you have those chokeholds. When people were trying to blame Biden because there was not enough baby formula, he didn't shut that down. The orange guy shut that down because he didn't want certain products coming into the country. So what are you supposed to do? But it's happened now. We've got it going again. And is it okay? No. Are the prices still high on foods? Yes. My goodness. You know, I went to the store the other day to buy something, and the price has doubled. And we're talking meat, you know, wrapped meat. I didn't want to buy it because I didn't want to pay that kind of money for that particular item that a month ago was half that price. But the stores have to raise their price because they're getting a higher price. Nothing ever sticks with one entity or the other. If it goes up on them, it's going up on us. That's just how it works. So if you're trying to blame inflation and everything else on the president, most of the time they have no pull on this. As a matter of fact, the only thing the orange guy could do is basically shut things down at certain borders, but the states could jump in on that anytime they want to. So that's that. Next. At this time, by the time this video goes out, this will have happened 2 weeks ago, where the orange guy's home in Florida was raided by the FBI, and they took a whole bunch of stuff. And there's people who are saying all these things. Oh my goodness, this is government overreach. This is a political thing. We're going to investigate them and all this other kind of stuff. Yeah, let's look at that. When the Republicans were in charge of the House, they did that type of thing. They're talking about it now. But when they were in charge of the House, the orange guy was there. And so they wanted to do that at the same time. Here's the thing. That has nothing to do with the president. There are rules. For instance, no one could have gone to the orange guy's house and just broken in. They had to notify the Secret Service that they were coming. The Secret Service had to acquiesce because it's the FBI. It wasn't just the head of the Justice Department, but it was a federal judge that the orange guy appointed many years ago. He signed off on it. So, you know, all this talk that's going on right now about there's going to be an insurrection, there's going to be a war, we're not going to put up with that. How did that do for January 6th? How many folks ended up in jail for stuff much less than that? I mean, come on. That's just ridiculous. The FBI is not targeting people. Now, did the FBI erase some texts? Did the Secret Service erase some texts? Did someone at Homeland Security, erase some text? Yes. Yes, they did. But who was president when that happened? I'm just saying. Alex Jones. I almost hate to say the name, but I love saying the name when bad things are happening to him because he has been telling lies for the longest time. And he is one of those kind of guys. He's a major conspiracy theorist. And any sane person knows that everything he's saying is a lie. And when he went after these families, Sandy Hook, who had their kids killed, and he was saying all this stuff, I don't know anybody with their right mind who could believe that parents would do that their kids weren't killed, that they didn't deserve any consideration, that their emotions were fake. And then he changed his tune in court. Everyone knows that because it was filmed, or videoed. I'm an older guy. Still, it was all videoed, and he changed it. But then the moron would then leave that and then go do his show saying how the judge was a moron, the other lawyers were morons, and the jurists were morons. You know, you go fussing at people who are going to define what happens to you, and everybody knows you said it. That's a bad thing. And your own lawyers sent your text messages going back at least 2 years. Some of them, it looks like, maybe go back 4 years. They sent it to the other lawyer who contacted them about that, and they didn't respond. So he knew that Alex Jones was lying when he said he didn't have any texts. He was lying when he said he didn't have any email or didn't have any files. It's now at the January 6th committee, and there's a whole lot of people who are scared. People like Roger Stone, who the orange guy pardoned, but he could become implicit in what happened January 6th. I hate saying the guy's name, so I'll just say Tucker. He's scared because he and Alex Jones have been buddies for a long time, and there's a bunch of his texts on there. I don't know about anyone else, but you know what? Y'all are going to be outed. And you can say that's privacy, and that is something that shouldn't have been shared. Yeah, if you'd had it, you would have shared it right now. So we don't want to hear that mess. The next thing, let's talk about the 2020 election that nobody wants to talk about, so they say. So this has come up a lot where they've asked all these people who are in the House, what do you think about this? And almost all of them, except for the wackadoodles, are saying no one cares about that, only cares about inflation. They don't care about this, they don't care about this, they don't care about this. Yeah. What are a lot of the people who are running for office this year, mainly for the House, a couple for the Senate, what are they all saying? Oh, the 2020 election was a fake. It was, messed up. They cheated, and we're going to overturn the results. Okay, here's the thing. There's not a single rep who's running for office that can overturn an election that happened 2 years ago. Can't be done. They're trying to say they can do it, but they can't. They can't remove Biden. It's been certified. The federal government did that the day of the insurrection after they cleared out all those people, and everyone went back to their chambers and they voted and they certified it. Who didn't? Not Matt Getz. Josh Hawley, the running man. He's the only one who's now walking around trying to tell everybody, see, I'm your guy. I stuck by you. Yeah, you were running from the mob that you helped to incite. So, there you are. But, no one asked this question. I asked this question early on when I heard people saying, well, the election results are fraud and they're wrong and someone cheated. How come not a single new representative who's a Republican who got elected and is now there said anything about it? I mean, they're saying fraud. Well, wait a minute. It would have to be fraud across the board. You can't just pick one office and change that up, especially when it's the office of president, because that's a more of a federal election. You just can't do that. So how come no one is griped over the fact that they still got elected? It's just something you need to think about. And here's the last thing. And this is the worst. Y'all, children are not becoming gay or trans because they're reading books on gay subjects or trans subjects. It doesn't work that way. If it worked that way, I'd have been a great basketball player because I read all these basketball books when I was, between 13 and 15 years old. I'd have been 7 foot tall. I'd have been starting for the Los Angeles Lakers. I know they got Kareem, and Kareem was good. But those were a lot of the books I was reading. I was reading Star Trek books. I was reading books on history. You don't turn into something because you read it. You don't become gay because you read a magazine article and they talked about it. But a lot of folks across the country are going to these libraries saying, we want to kill this. Nope, you're turning kids in it. You're grooming children. Y'all really don't know what grooming children is, do you? You know who gets accused and convicted of grooming children more often than not? Conservatives. I just put it out there. You can look it up. Go look it up on Google. You're probably going to find some sites that are going to say it the other way. But in general, Matt Getz, I'm sorry, did I say that? That's not how it works. And if you believe that's how it works, and you're saying that the Bible told you that, you're lying because that's not in the Bible. That's all I have. It's just been a weird year, 2022. And I just don't know what's wrong with a lot of people. But, I had to bring it up. I didn't want to get into a whole lot of detail. I've been watching a whole lot of stuff. And I've read some stuff. And if I had written it all down, because I would have had to write it all down so I could talk about it, this would have been a 40-minute video, and even I wouldn't have wanted to watch it. All I'm saying is, don't be lied to. If you hear something that's so outrageous that it makes you mad, you know what? Go to Google or DuckDuckGo or one of those other sites and look it up. And look for the news sources. Okay, I called them fake news earlier, but you know who's not fake at fake news? The actual reporters. There is a difference between the pundits and what they have to say and the people who are actually reporting the news. I congratulate those folks. They have talked about the election and how the orange guy lost. They've talked about the jobs reports and they've given it glowing reviews. It's when they have to get these commentary people talking about stuff that everything changes. Think about that for a minute. If you go to CNN or NBC or MSNBC or CBS or ABC or whoever else is doing it, you will notice that the people who are the pundits on those channels are in agreement with the news people. They stay the same. Only fake news has their news people telling the truth, telling the news, and then has their pundits saying opposite stuff. Think about that. There's your truth. Anyway, that's all I got. It's long enough. Y'all let me know what you think. I hope you have a good day. And yes, this is the fair. Take care.